Hey, Don Williams with Don Williams Global with my monthly session for Accelerators Organization. I'm a couple hours early for my scheduled time, but last week I was in Singapore and missed my time due to the time zone change. And so better early than never. And so here I am, and I know most of you watch on recording, so it doesn't make any difference. So let me get to the first question. This question is from Kelly Killingsworth, and Kelly's question is, what is the process to acquiring a business partner, and when is the right time to bring on that business partner? I'm going to give you a little background. Kelly and Company, Kelco Construction, is a licensed general engineering company in Northern California. They have certifications that put them at the top of the list for some government and state projects. Nice work. We became licensed and certified at the end of 2022. We mainly service excavation, pipelaying, demolition, site prep, and trucking for the dirt world. I love that, for the dirt world. Lately, I've been wondering where we need to be in order to attract an interested business partner or partners and what that process is like. All I know is that I would need to be 51% owner in order to keep the certified disabled veteran business enterprise and disadvantaged business enterprise. Thank you, mentors, for your time. Great question. I'm going to repeat the question and then I'll give you my thoughts. What is the process to acquiring a business partner, and when is the right time to bring in that business partner? So partnerships are an interesting situation. Many times, 2 or 3 people can take a business far further than one person alone. That being said, the downside is many partnerships fail because the parties that are in partnership don't share the same values, don't have the same vision, and are not pulling in the same direction. So to me, the most important factor about any partner is that you are in perfect alignment for your vision, what you want to achieve. And by doing that, you'll end up with a partner who's actually helping you and not pulling away from you. Now, a couple of different scenarios. One is to bring in a partner in your industry that's maybe somewhat smaller than you. And so you basically start kind of your own mini roll up. And so let's just say your revenue is $5 million and theirs is 2. Now you would have a company that has $7 million in revenue. And that's certainly one strategy. Another strategy is to bring in someone from outside your industry that has complementary skills. They may have skills that you don't possess, and that will help you build a far stronger team, okay, and you'll be able to accomplish far more. So big question. Those are kind of some general guidelines. You want to be very careful that you pick the right partner. It's kind of like being married or looking for a life partner. That one decision is going to account for a lot of joy or a lot of grief. And so you want to be certain that your eyes are wide open and you're making a good decision there. Next question. This is from Kristen Lander. How many months of operating expenses should a business keep on hand? And the background is I purchased an existing business and I have a lot of debt associated with that purchase. I'm lucky in that I don't need to pay myself from this business. My personal expenses are covered by my income from another business I own. I do want to pay off the debt as fast as possible, 4 years or sooner. I don't want to put the business in jeopardy with less than an ideal amount of cash on hand. I recognize there are many factors that play into this, and it may be different for each business. Just curious what the mentors recommend or feel comfortable with in their own business. Back to the question. How many months of operating expenses should a business keep on hand? And the answer to that is it kind of depends on the business and what the cash flows in that business run typically. So certainly I think it would be prudent to keep 3 or 4 months operating expenses as cash. But some businesses that only receive cash once or twice a year obviously would need to keep more than that. And businesses that have a very strong cash flow every month, maybe they can actually keep less cash than that on hand. If you have an excess of cash, it makes sense to deploy that cash to where it's earning money. And so really not enough detail for me to give you what I think would be a great answer to your question. And kind of like you said in the back part of your question, different businesses are going to have different requirements. So you might want to consider talking about that with your CPA or CFO and get their input from a purely financial perspective. Next question, Erica Stokes. How do you organize your workday effectively? And the background of the question is I do junk removal. I'm a solopreneur now, and I'm trying to balance schedule to bring in clients while also doing the work. Any advice you can offer to help balance it all would be so appreciated. I want to grow. Question, how do you organize your workday effectively? So when you're a solopreneur, probably the next step in your entrepreneurial journey is to add at least one staff member and begin to delegate some of the tasks that you are taking care of right now. The only real way to do that is to dedicate some time every day and if possible, just block it on your calendar to where you're certain you get it done every day. And that time, whether it's an hour or 2 or 3, is solely devoted to business development, to trying to win more customers. And that will enable you to have the funds and have the demand to add staff. And cart before the horse, or horse before the cart, do the biz dev, then you'll be able to add staff. Next question, again from Erica. How do you maintain passion when you wear so many hats and get a little burnt out? Love that question. Looking for a way to cultivate that passion again moving forward in my week. I'm searching to recreate the feeling that drives me to do more than I thought I could. So the one thing about passion is this, and I think is really important for every entrepreneur, is you want to be certain that your business endeavor is something you feel passionate about, and that you have a goal that you feel passionate about that's going to carry you through the highs and the lows that entrepreneurs typically experience, sometimes several times a day. And so when you have a mission, when you have a vision, when you have something you really care about achieving, it will help you balance that. And then I would tell you this, don't get too upset in the lows and don't get too elated in the highs. Entrepreneurship is probably best survived and thrived when you maintain a pretty even keel and you don't let your emotions run really hot or really cold. So I hope that helps. Erica. Next question is from Jennifer. Jennifer says, are you familiar with any grants available to small businesses? I'm having a really tough time financially and I don't qualify for loans. The background is I purchased a small art gallery that's taken longer than expected to get up and running because the previous owner didn't manage it well. My savings are just about gone and I'm running on credit cards. I'm starting to see money trickle in, but not nearly enough to cover the expenses. Back to the question, are you familiar with any grants available to small businesses? I have a really tough time financially and can't qualify for loans. Here's probably the easiest way to find out the grants that are available to your business. Go to your local Chamber of Commerce or your local business incubator or entrepreneur center and speak with them about the potential for local grants, which work through the system much faster, and you stand out more because you're not competing necessarily on a national level. I do think you should look into national grants, and probably the simplest way is just to do a Google search or even ChatGPT search and ask what are available grant programs for this type of business in this location. And that should give you a bunch to work with. But let me give you another thought also. So the grant process is not going to be immediate. Sorry. And so job number one in any new business is always biz dev. It's always, how do I generate more sales, and how can I generate sales economically and quickly? And income cures almost all problems in a startup business. So don't ignore the fact that, hey, it would be best to just earn money than it is to spend the time to get a grant, and certainly a loan, which of course you would have to pay back. Next question from Kelly again. Would going signatory to an operators union be a smart move for my company? Great question. I've been researching the pros and cons of going signatory. It seems that companies that aren't unionized hate unions, and the ones that are unionized love unions. I have an option to be able to open hire for the first year after I sign. There is a ton of work coming up in my local area that is all signatory and would be disadvantaged business enterprise, general engineering licensed union contractor in Northern California. I'm not seeing a lot of cons, and I'm seeing a lot of pros to going signatory. I'd love to get a meeting scheduled with any mentor that has experience with this, or with anyone who would like more information. So, Kelly, you are located in California, which is going to have a certain environment towards union businesses as opposed to non-union businesses. I'm located in Texas. Texas would have a different environment and attitude towards union versus non-union. I don't know that I'm the best mentor for you to reach out to, but I think, again, I might recommend that you go to your Chamber of Commerce, you go to the local union, and then you look for mentors in Northern California who can help you learn about the details involved in both situations. Okay, back to Erica. How do you balance work life with a business life when your energy is low? Right now I'm in this time management, energy management battle. I've been playing with my schedule because I drive Uber overnight to take care of the bills. When I get home, my energy is low and I try to power through to do business work. But I become easily distracted because I'm mentally drained as well as physically drained because I've been up all day. It's hard to balance my energy so I can perform even when I'm tired. So back to the question, how do you balance work life with business life when your energy is low? I'm not certain that there really is such a thing as balance between work life and business life. I think there's just life, and there's just entrepreneurs doing life, and that includes their personal life and their family life and their business life, and they're just doing life. And sometimes one of those lives is going to get more time and effort, and sometimes another is. The one thing I would tell you about many entrepreneurs, when they start out, they're the chief, they're the cook, they're the bottle washer, they're doing everything. And that's not uncommon for a startup entrepreneur. As rapidly as you can, you want to grow your business to the point that you can give up one of those roles. And the other thing is that you want to be certain that you're spending your time where you have the most potential for income. Sales cures just about everything. And so it's true, you can't work 24 hours a day, and actually working 168 hours a week, which is every hour in a week, is not more productive than working, say, 60 hours in a week. Now, that doesn't mean an entrepreneur sometimes is not burning the midnight oil, but you can't do it forever. If you're empty, you can't fill others, and that means you can't lead your team and you can't fulfill customers. So the important thing is that you take care of you, okay, and be very intentional about how you manage your time. Last question for the month. This is Diane Hall, and Diane wants to know, how do I know if I'm maintaining proper margins for my business, and how do I analyze by category the line items as I'm looking to reduce cost and increase margins? I'm trying to determine if I'm spending way too much on expenses. I'm in the aviation industry with a primary focus in janitorial. Is this something I would hire a CFO consultant to audit income versus expenses? Is there an expense percentage businesses should focus on to stay on the growth path? Great question. I'll repeat the question. How do I know if I'm maintaining proper margins? And how do I analyze by category the line items as I'm looking to reduce cost and increase margins? Obviously, every industry is going to have different margins. And so some industries are going to be really slim, 15% margin. Other businesses are going to be really fat, quote unquote. And so 75, 80% margins. An interesting way to find out in your industry is to reach out to the primary trade associations in your industry and place some well-meaning and well-worded inquiries there, even though you will kind of be getting answers from your competitors, but not so much if they are in different parts of the state or different parts of the states. And so you should be able to get some idea there. The other thing, the simplest way to increase margin, though, is to increase price. And most entrepreneurs underprice their product, service, or experience to where it doesn't reflect the real value that they deliver. And that doesn't mean you can you can price things past what people will pay, but almost all entrepreneurs can raise their pricing. I have a business coach that I coached when he first started out, and very highly skilled, very intelligent, very effective coach. And when he came to me, he was charging $4,000 a day to coach a business team. And my first question to him was like, why aren't you charging $10,000 a day? And he said, well, that's kind of not how it's done. You start here, and as you get busier, you raise your price. And I said, well, I understand where that came from. I just disagree. I think if you're really good at what you do, it's worth $10,000. And if it's not as good as I think you are, then it's not even worth the $4,000. So I'm not sure really what difference it makes whether you charge $4,000 a day or $10,000 a day, knowing that if what you do actually works, the $10,000 is fine, and if what you do doesn't work, then the $4,000 is totally too much. And so over a period of time, he was able to stair-step his rate to where he's at the $10,000 a day. Now that's a little different than the industry that you're in, but probably you could do a 5% increase, and certainly on new clients, okay, and immediately put some more margin in your business and some more wind in your sales. And then if you'll do a little market research as to what the industry does, you'll gain some intel that will help you there to see, is there a way I can also cut costs? The only caution I give you, and I think you should cut costs everywhere you can, but so many times entrepreneurs, when things are maybe too tight. They focus on how am I going to cut costs, and where they really should be focusing on how can I raise income. And here's a really simple example. Let's say you have a small business and your expenses are $25,000 a month and your income is $26,000 a month. Well, that's a lot of work for $1,000. And so some entrepreneurs will say, how can I cut that 25,000 down to put more margin? Well, the math says this: if your expenses are $25,000, if you could remove all of your expenses, if you could take all of your expenses to free, which of course you can't, but that would add $25,000 worth of margin. And you could not add $25,001. At the $25,000, you would have hit a hard stop. There's no further room for improvement. So all you could do, if you could, is eliminate 100% of the expenses. However, if you look on the other side of the ledger, if you look on the income side, you could go from $26,000 in income to not just $51,000 in income, but you could go to $510,000 in income, and you could go to $5 million in income. And so the real potential, the real growth, the real opportunity is on raising sales, not necessarily on cutting expenses. My name's Don Williams. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you next month in Accelerators Organization. Have a good day. Thanks.